Well, hello everybody, welcome back. It's Sunday, so we've got the full look at the gardens and what's growing on, coming on here. But it's kind of it's threatening to be a soggy Sunday, so I figure I had better get this started rather on the sooner side. The upside of this is you'll get to see the shard like standing up, you know, like I swear it gets tall, but I can prove it now. So here I am standing beside it. This would be my knee, and that would be the shard up above it. So yeah. I'm going to say this was a good spot to plant that. I may even plant it here next year. I mean, this is ridiculous. That's a big shard. I was thinking about doing like, basically using the shard leaves as a wrap over, well, I don't know, something like you would use to stuff a pepper or a tomato, and kind of baking all that, seeing what happens. Not sure. I've used this inside phyllo pastry, but I have to drive quite a ways to get phyllo pastry, so use it as phyllo pastry. Who knows? Might work. We've got our lovely fine lace kale here. This started off as a nice Russian red kale this year, but as you can see through the dedicated work of the cabbage moths and their young little, I guess, caterpillars, they have turned it into lovely fine lace kale. We have some beautiful lace cabbage here growing as well. If only it was intentionally, you know, supposed to look like that. A little tragic, Good reason to get chickens right there. Apparently I can just cut these leaves off and toss them to them. So that's sounded like a good idea. Look at that one. That's just tragic. So yeah. As soon as the brassicas get planted outside in the future, they have to be under nets and they have to stay there until they're harvested. I've learned this now, in truly the most painful way possible. Because otherwise those would have been some beautiful, huge cabbages. The red demon pepper out front, nicely productive, which is a proper sign of a red demon pepper, so that's promising. Long, skinny peppers, fairly consistent in size. Again, still true to the red demon form. Now these, I originally got these seeds in a 2-type package with, orange fugo is what they were called. They were basically just like a creamsicle orange version of the same pepper. Slight difference to the flavor. I actually kind of preferred the orange fugo, but, you know, ran out of seeds. Life happens. You grow on. You carry on. Here we have the paper lantern habanero. Ooh, I hear raindrops starting, so we'll have to see. But this has got lots and lots of flowers on it. Down here at the bottom, we got some pretty nice looking peppers going on in here. Good size. Good size there too. Got some bricks around the back here, kind of keeping that thermal energy, keeping it warm. Sure doesn't seem to be hurting things. Yeah, beautiful. Love the purpling on the stem here. Hopefully that's showing up nicely. Then let's take a look at this matchbox here. Because, as I mentioned the other day, the first one, you see it in there? Basically ripe. So, there will definitely be a live tasting coming up soon, and there are so many peppers in there. Yes, this is a beautiful little plant. Definitely going to be growing these again. I lost rather a lot of my Matchbox seed starts. Hopefully I can conquer whatever that was, but as I've said so many times, I'm pretty sure it's temperature that leads to my aphid issue. So yeah, if I nick that one off, we'll see. Onto the theory of treating the cause and not the effect. I think aphids are an effect of some deeper problem in my garden. And once I solve the deeper problem, well, obviously everything's just going to go crazy. So that'll be fantastic, because if I didn't have the aphid situation, I'd have a much bigger garden. So anyway, let's take a look at the railroad peppers. The beautiful El Oro de Ecuador. It's actually resting outside of its bucket for now. Seemed to be having some issues the other day. So I figured, yeah, why not? We'll pull it out, we'll let it drain like completely dry, and surprisingly that seems to be helping. Got so many fruit on here though. Oh yeah. Very excited, very excited. I do love a nice productive plant. I don't think I'm going to have anywhere near the numbers that, you know, say Rob did on that scorpion. Awesome harvest, by the way, buddy. But yeah, this is well and truly good enough for me. The Ahia Huchapan, I turned it around just to kind of see what the plant's response to that would be. Not really much going on here. That's strange. Sort of discoloration. Would be really nice to see something take on that orange that the one inside did. But whatever, we've got time, and I now know if left alone long enough in the windowsill, they'll go orange. Oh, this calabaza, it's got some issues. It's in the same kind of soil as this other ahi. Same kind of planter, same kind of undercatcher tray. I don't know what's going on with this. It's a little upsetting though. Whatever. We'll see if the plant can be saved and continued on till next year, or if I just turf that one. Over here. Oh, the birds are cheeky today, eh? Got the sand dollar, the 2016 sand dollar, and that would be the beginning of a pepper. Huzzah! Fantastic. We've got some issues going on in a couple of these leaves. Might be time to hit this one with a little bit of fertilizer. The soil's probably pretty tired too. Might be time to pull a few of these companion plants out. Alright, cool. Then the yellow scorpion here. Still looking at flower ball stage. Oh, those ones are a little tiny bit bigger. But really, I don't even understand how this thing is still alive. I just don't get it. But, whatever, it lives, I water it. In the category of plants somehow questionably still alive, we have the Ern zucchini. This thing is still doing its thing. It's looking a little more censorable every week. But, yeah, we've got another little zucchini on there. I'm glad we got those first couple ones off of here, because otherwise this plant is looking like a bit of a write-off. This coffee plant, we've got a local, well, we'll call it a mini wheat. I have no idea what that grass actually is, but it's got a good companion in there. I might actually leave this in there when I take it downstairs, see if the fish like those grains. But the coffee tree itself, lots of nice growth on here. Hasn't really grown up much, but boy, has it grown a lot of new leaves. The unkillable mint is not the nicer looking of the two mints. Might be time to come through here and clean up that soil. Top it up, or just kill it off. Throw it into the compost pile. Call it quits for that one. Who knows? I finally got around to planting Gus in the box. A little bit of green on there. You can hardly see him on the camera. It's just an itty bitty thing. It's a 2-year-old asparagus plant that's been growing in a party cup, so of course it's suffering. And I figured if I'm going to finally get around to planting him, even though it's way too late, I'm going to finally get around to transplanting the leeks. Also way too late. Probably far too close together. But hey, it's better than a styrofoam cup, so they're probably pretty happy. Just did this yesterday. We'll see in the the coming weeks how the leeks do. Yes. Waiting weeks for the leeks. All right, that dill that Shock's put in here kind of got some fresh green, but nothing overly perky. I sure hope that perks back up for her though. That would be nice. I didn't get too much more done in the tomato grove yesterday. The weather got interesting and kind of threatening, so I went inside. But look at these. I do think these little tripods display the tomato under there a little bit better. And the ones that have the strings, like this Sweet 100s over here, definitely keeping it up off the ground. I've had to pull a lot of tomatoes this year that, well, they kind of just started rotting because they were down on the ground. Ooh, that one's almost ready, eh? It's been a good year for cherry tomatoes so far. The yellows, the reds. Got this next cherry tomato over here. Again, I think it looks much better in the tripod, so yeah, I still didn't come through here with the push mower, but not looking so great. I believe this is one of the grape tomatoes. See, and that's what I'm talking about, right? Like, with just the stake and having not tied them up, but I guess tomatoes aren't naturally climbers. We're supposed to tie them up. Like I said, I'm not a tomato gardener. I'm just learning as I grow. But anyway, I have recently learned that. Explains why everybody always ties up their tomatoes. I thought it was just a reinforcing thing. But look at the length of the cluster on these grapes. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. At least 9 on there. Very nice. So I will continue on with my little tripod building project. I think this is one of the pears. Might be a grape still. A lot of these labels are not exactly that easy to read anymore. Definitely going to have to do something more permanent for that, but yeah, I never expected to grow up to be a tomato gardener. The peppers, it doesn't surprise me one bit. Sweet Juliet's here. Not the happiest looking mater in the yard. Big dead chunk here. I don't know what happened there. It must have broken at the base or something. But it's doing okay. It's doing okay. Especially with the sunblock that all of that is. Moving on up here. This is the black vernissage, I think. Yes. Interesting sort of variegation, we'll say, to the skin. Kind of reminds me of the green zebra tomatoes I got for 10 cents once, way back when. Very cool. Looking forward to watching these ripen and seeing how those stripes develop into the ripe tomato. Very cool. So yes, for the most part, this tomato grove is working out well, I'd say. Some interesting things going back in the jungle. Let's take a look at that. One thing of interest to me anyway, going on back here, I have a Swiss chard plant that is going to seed. I thought these had to be in their second year to go to seed, but apparently not the case. So that is excellent. The seed that I planted this from, I saved in 2012. So it's kind of getting there in its age. But I got a massive like freezer bag full of it. But this will be just kind of nice to have as a secondary supply. Here we can see my lace Brussels. Quite beautiful. And my black spotted Brussels sprouts. Yes. So this, not necessarily thrilling. This cabbage though, I think we're gonna harvest this sucker and oh my gosh, I guess not. Yeah, nasty. I need chickens. Alright, click like and share it on a social media site if you think I should have chickens. Got this volunteer white shard, what do they call it, silver shard? Would very much like to see this thing go to seed because I don't have any of this whiter stuff. I got the reds and the pinks in that bag, but none of the white. This pepper here, pretty much a write-off. I'm still seeing no signs of fruit. Oh, there we go. Yeah, this definitely would have been an eggplant if it hadn't given me so much grief. Beginning of August, you know, come on, work with me. Eggplants. I can't grow eggplants. Apparently, I can grow purple beans, though. Well, burgundy beans. Look at this slender little fellow growing deep in the heart of the jungle. Well, actually, I guess this is on the edge of the forest, as it were. Deep in the heart of the jungle would be the beans that we can't even see from this angle. Ooh, but looking through the burrs, I do see one. Well, looky here, looky here. Ain't that a sight for sore eyes. That is fantastic. Oh, there's a bunch of them down here too. Oh, excellent. See, because again, like so many of the crop rows, or the row crops, I guess we'll say this year, I kind of given up on these. Old seed, bad conditions, didn't water them, you know, the usual suspects around here. And we got one that came up there, 2 plants that came up there, and then the rest of these weeds were just allowed to go insane. And even with all of this overgrowth around them, these little plants have managed to produce something edible. That is just fascinating. Dandelions are getting very much overgrown in here as well, so I've got to harvest these for some fish food soon. I will throw them in the dehydrator because solar dehydrating has not yet worked out for me. Bunker tomatoes, anyone? Oh, bunker tomatoes. Look at this, look at this. That's getting there. That's getting there. Better Boy hybrid. Very happy with this. I need a better sort of tomato structure to go along with the bunker garden system here. Maybe like an actual solid trellis or something. But good heavens, this is definitely a good variety for Manitoba, so probably anywhere in the prairies, and certainly a good way to grow them. These celebrity hybrids too, these things are just so like, branches are kind of bending over the top of the tomato cage, bending and twisting over the top of the tomato cage, and just dragged down with weight. This is cool because I have done so little, like I haven't really fertilized this or anything like that. We made it out of the sod from ripping up the garden bed. We just kind of Legoed it around, filled it with yard waste, put some soil on top. Man, oh man. Now this variety doesn't necessarily seem to be putting out quite the same numbers as its companions, but we got some funky looking maters. I'm going to pull this one because I'm not, oh yeah, I knew that wasn't a good idea. But the overall shape on that, too bad about that. Alright, again, as I understand it, that's chicken food potentially. In the meantime, I just use it for pitching practice and shoot for the curve in the back corner there. Developing a garden bed back there one day. Probably have some volunteer tomatoes in that sucker. So, to the world of starches. Oh, and peas. Look at that. Oh, you're coming in the house today. I don't know how you escaped tension for so long. Apparently, I need to harvest the peas. Oh, there's some big ones down there, too. Not bad for an unexpected pea harvest. And it's unexpected on so many layers, right? Like, these peas are another perfect example of what I was talking about. Oh, I totally missed that one right there. With the row crops that I had given up on. These were one of the crops that I had totally bailed on. So I planted the corn. And as you can see, typical YouTuber, the corn has come up. The peas aren't exactly climbing it, but they don't exactly seem to care about it being there either. They're very, very productive. And the corn, you know, I'm still getting ears of corn. Look at the red hair on that one. We'll get to that in a minute. But it all seems to be working out just fine. So I guess peas and corn as a companion planting is not a bad idea. Traditionally, the Three Sisters is beans, squash, and corn. And I'll fiddle about more with that in the future. But for now, shake that pollen out there and hopefully get some nice looking cobs on here. I'm just going around to the left. Got a few, which is great because I don't think I got any last year that I can recall. Very cool coloration on that though. Peas in the back here. I bet you if I scan through these, oh yeah, what do you know? Come to me. Don't worry, I'm just a bear. You can trust me. Or apparently you can't. Come on, Mr. Bear. A little more gently in the future. We'll just dump that guy in the pit and pretend that never happened. Getting to be a nice collection of peas though, all the same. Anyway, I was babbling about the corn. Got two different varieties in here. One is honey and cream, one is peaches and cream. And I'd say one is a little more on the pink side. One is very much on the red side. That is fantastic. You know, it looks like a good start to a couple of cobs there. Can't really save your own seeds from this stuff though, because it's all hybridized. Oh, look, might be a second one coming up on that one. So you can't count on the results. You need to find open pollinated, short season sweet corn. But you know me, I like to make my searches real simple, you know. Yeah. I need corn that can be up and done in like 100 days every time. Open pollinated, please. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Okay, so back to row crops that I gave up on. Totally given up on these carrots. Apparently they didn't give up on me, but yeah, I thought for sure that they were dead. If you recall, I was even considering planting something else here, and then it was, oh, I don't know, is that a grass weed coming through there, or is that actually carrots? And now if we pull away the mulch here, it's not great quality soil, but it's not a bad little carrot. Let's see, we'll pull out another one here. Not a bad carrot. Looks like we're having peas and carrots. Ooh, that's a chubby little carrot. Nice. Peas and carrots for dinner, anyone? Oh, I think maybe. Probably grab a few of these radish pods too, because those were surprisingly good. It's exactly as, I believe it was Punky who described them, as radish in bean or pea pod form. That's the best way to put it. And yeah, I am thrilled. Because if you think about it, you get a lot more pods out of a radish seed than you would get radishes, right? You get one radish. But looking at all of these, this is pod after pod after pod after pod after pod. You get them at the right stage of development. Yeah, pretty darn tasty. If they go too far, oh no, you've got radish seeds for next year. I was starting to think this was a terrible event, but this looks like a winning situation now that I really know what's going on. Some of you may have seen the beginning of my no-till garlic beds. I think we might actually end up growing potatoes in these because we were talking about it, and that new hugel swale kind of curved bed that we built, that's going to be done right about the time garlic would go down, I think. So I think we're just going to plant the garlic in there. I'm going to continue to build these up just like I would have for the garlic, but we're going to put them over behind the tower. Doesn't block much sun, shouldn't be an issue. And yeah, probably russets and maybe some sort of red-skinned potato, because I like russets and she likes the red-skins. Everybody wins. Happy wife, happy life. Cherry trees coming along. Never did get those cherries that were showing up on here, but this is its first year here. Their appearance took me by surprise. If we even get one or two next year, that'll be great. Absolutely fantastic. So the bago squash is still developing more flowers. We can follow this one here, and we get to the beginning of possibly a cross-pollinated spaghetti squash. It's looking a little pear-shaped, but I decided to bring over one of the logs and just kind of lift this up a little bit, because last year, was it last year or the year before? The year that I had a lot of spaghetti squash, I found that they were kind of rotting when they were left for too long on the ground. So I figured if I take one of these log chunks, you know, use something around my property as a resource, find a reason for it to be there, and kind of prop up to squash with it. It's nowhere near as moist. It's been a couple of days. Still seems to be growing just fine. When this little acorn squash gets a little bit bigger, come on, that acorn squash right there. I'll probably bring a log over for it as well. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. No idea if that's a good idea, bad idea. It's one of those things I just call silient until I know if it's silly or brilliant. Life goes on. Little pepper patch here. Seemed like a really good idea at the time. I don't think I'll be doing this for peppers in the future. This charcoal thing though, I may be doing more charcoal mulching in the future. I've only just started that, so I haven't had really much time to kind of decide on that. MOA Scotch bonnet never did get transplanted into hydroponics, but I mean, look how much better it's doing just in the last couple of weeks. And in the last couple of weeks, I put in the charcoal, so I can't help but think maybe there's a connection. But that is why I fart around in the garden so much, and I do all my various tests and experiments, and if it seems like a good idea at the time, why not try it? Who knows, it might actually turn out to be a good idea. You never know until you try, right? So, yeah. And that's the spirit that keeps me gardening. Every year I seem to do better with at least one crop, so every year I learn more. It's all good. And on that note, I think we're pretty much good for wrapping it up down here. We'll look at the aquaponic garden probably early next week. I may go live tomorrow with that Matchbox pepper, and we got nasturtium flowers out front, which I've also been urged to try, so I may try those as well. We will see. However, hit the notification bell because it will be totally random, because trying to schedule it beforehand like I did for the last one did not result in anywhere near as seamless an experience for me as when I just went live, because then I could see everybody's chat on the side. It was quick, it was easy. I like that better. So yeah, I'd recommend hitting the bell if you're interested in the live stuff. So on that note, I will see you guys probably sometime tomorrow, and definitely on Tuesday. Take care, everybody.